We've already taken a Spark DGX device, taken a model, put it locally. I don't need to scale to millions, but I can take something from a machine that I paid $4,000 for, emit that model, and have it resident in the business that we're creating a data product around. That I can see being reproduced over and over. I think students are going to get memory very soon because we've been playing with a way where you can make the models remember things for you. And that's your data. That's your life graph, we call it. And that's something that we're seeing them find a ton of value.
Voices of Innovation invites big thinkers with bold ideas to talk about the influence of technology in today's society. I'm your host, Lev Gonick, and we're recording today's episodes from the Agentic AI and the Student Experience Summit, a global gathering of over 600 education and industry leaders hosted by Arizona State University. Let's jump in. Well, welcome back to another great session on Voices of Innovation. I'm Lev Gonick, Arizona State University's CIO, and it's my pleasure to actually introduce a really good friend of mine, the Chief Futures Officer of Maryville University in St. Louis, Phil Komarny. Welcome, Phil.
Thank you, Lev. Thank you so much. And thank you for holding this event. This has been amazing so far.
Yeah, it's great to have you and so many folks, interestingly enough, from all over the world. I know that while I introduced you, to our viewers and listeners as the Chief Futures Officer of Maryville, we just come out of a session that talks about the intersection of the marketplace and private actors, along with educators, and your history. I just want to give you a minute or so to introduce yourself. Like, you've not always been in universities; you have moved between and from the outside in. So maybe just very quickly sketch a little bit of kind of where you've been and why have you chosen at this moment in your career to take all your talent and all your experience and bring it to Maryville?
Wow, that's a big question. I'll try to do it as fast as I can. I have a different background than most people in this space, especially doing the work that we're doing. I didn't get to go to college when I was younger, so I was a autodidact. People have said that, but really inspired by just learning things that I'm passionate about. And now in this new world around AI, I think it's a big opportunity for people like me who were not passed over, but weren't able to experience this formalized learning, a new way to engage that. And that's mostly the reason I left Salesforce and went to Maryville.
Okay, you're going to have to unpack it though, because
I'm sorry.
Salesforce,
okay.
back it up even further.
Okay.
So, when you had how did you know you wanted to get into the world of technology? Let me frame it for you that.
There you go. Well, the internet happened when I graduated high school. So that's where it started. And nobody was teaching the web. If they did, it was teaching the web. Like, think of how vast that is. It's just like teaching AI. It's going to become very segmented over time, but nobody was teaching that. So I started an ISP in my garage, like most people would do. Like, I learned a lot through that, learned about modems, learned about HTML, learned about all these things. Right. And that's how I really learned about what I was passionate about, but I went out and did it. And I think there's ways for us to do that now formally and build that type of education moving forward. But from that, I was able to learn so much about it. The first thing that I invented with it was a way to take college applications online. So this is in 1992, 3, 4, like around that time frame.
Had the browser actually
started, right? This is
fall of 93.
There you go.
I was here at ASU on sabbatical when the Netscape browser came in, and I know because those were yours was among the very first applications that was relevant to our world.
Well, thank you for that. I think it really showed me a way we could use this technology to engage people to get into this vertical. So I took a job at a very small school in Western Pennsylvania called Chatham College. It's a women's college, but I was the internet director there. And again, World Wide Web internet director. What is that? But it was very...
You like titles like Chief Futures Officers. You've always liked that kind of earn your own title.
Well, that was created for the futures one was for president. It was really interesting how we thought about it. But going back to that ability to really use the web to really get people involved. So that's how I really left my startup life and got into education as this internet manager. And from that kind of progressed into CIO roles at different schools and back out into the world.
In the services world.
There you go. Back out into like Salesforce as a vice president of innovation, or really looking around corners with companies and trying to see where that type of technology could help their business. learned so much in that role because I got to interact with people like you and really hear about the business. And once you do that, there's so many ways to apply this tech. I just thought it was really time to go back to education because I saw what was coming 4 years ago around AI. And a president, Dr. Mark Lombardi, who was the president in role at Maryville when I was there, 4 years ago, he's since retired, asked me to come and scare the beep out of his board and said, come and show them, tell them what's happening. And I did. And they loved the idea enough to hire me. So I was like,
Did you get a chance to actually draw up your own job description as a result of it?
Kind of did.
Yeah, that's what my sense was.
It was that's free. I did like that. I really did enjoy it. And now we have built like a 38-person team that's very remote, really servicing this idea around data strategy. So in this world of AI, I think data strategy is where you have to really think.
All right. So let's jump right there.
Okay.
I mean, I think this is kind of like into the way you think. I've always thought of you as one of the great architects of how to understand how the pieces fit together. And I don't know if it was sort of all the way back to your garage or whether it was through your Salesforce experience, but my sense is that you have always understood just how important, I would say, on the technology side, how important data is, and on building solutions, how important trust is. So maybe you can talk about how you have approached the opportunity at Maryville to, as it were, put into practice a sort of data transformation strategy in order to not do it for the sake of data transformation, but in order to build trust and value.
There you go. I think we fired IT. I'll just say it that way. In not the people, but the concept. In that realm, what we were trying to do is create a new language around how we wanted to use data to really make this university thrive. So really thinking about IT first, data is control, okay? But if we call it collective technology and really profess this data strategy, and then have my technologists go out and listen to the business, listen to what they do, not how they do it, what they do. So now my group understands the business at a different level. I think that's like empathetic listening to the language of the business and understanding that, not a technical version of it, but actually what we do. We've been able to really uncover so many automations and so many inhumane tasks that we've given people to do. Machines need to do that now, and we can do really creative things, and that's how we're seeing it transform. But it's that language that we listened to and really co-created as we move this forward through a data strategy.
Take just 30 seconds, and just for our listeners and viewers, just sort of describe who are the students, at Maryville. It's not necessarily a school that everybody knows about.
No.
You of all the choices, and I'm well aware that you have choices. I'm really well aware that you had choices.
Thank you.
Why you chose it, maybe in part, not only because of the leadership, but because of the kind of school it is.
It is. I think, I was the chief digital officer of the University of Texas system for a bit. So I've been at the helm of some really big systems. That's one of the bigger ones. And even my boss was Admiral Bill McRaven. Okay. A Navy SEAL, the Navy SEAL. I mean, really, he was the bullfrog. He ran SOCOM. He didn't persist there. So just think how hard that culture is when you have somebody with that kind of leadership ability, not being able to persist that. So I think really getting a chance to do something at a size school of Maryville, 10,000 students, half online, half on ground, and really technically didn't have a strategy. They know I've told them this. So it was really...
And not so unusual to be told.
Especially when you're successful. They went with OPMs early in the day and had a very good nursing program that scaled dramatically. So it was easy to make bad decisions. Just digital spaghetti at a wall, things stick. And some things did great and some things didn't. But now if we rewind that and look at what we could do with the strategy, it's so much more targeted and so much better. So Maryville affords me that size and that... community that's actually addressable. It's really hard to work across the system as 14 schools and try to get something that they're all going to be interested in. It's very difficult. So I think it's a right size school. I think the culture was right. And I think the opportunity was shaped that way is why I did do that.
Right. And we've obviously invited some of your students to actually be participating here because you're also creating proof points.
We are.
And if you're scaled, you can actually have a proof point where it's big enough to have impact, but small enough to actually get stuff done.
That's right.
And that's certainly a big piece of it. I want to go back, if it's all right, Phil, to the data conversation, because one of the things that you were actually sharing with me, and I think it was a text message, is you were sending me screenshots of knowledge graphs. So data is one piece of the puzzle.
Yep.
But this is not data for the sake of having data.
No.
You've already begun to harness the insights that come from this re-architecting of data into our sort of actionable analytics. So talk for a little bit about how you've approached sort of the knowledge graph. In what way are you using knowledge graphs, and to what end?
Yes, knowledge graphs are ontology. So I was lucky enough to meet Beth Rudden. She was the cognitive data lead at IBM. She has since left that position and started her own company called Bast AI. But she's on our board, and she impressed on me 2 years ago, like, data is an artifact of a human experience. We should treat it better. I'm like, wow, that's such a deep statement. But that framing gave us a way to kind of drive all this forward. Having that kind of culture now, people really think of it that way. We can have different conversations about data, and getting people showing them now, not telling them. I think I come from the show me states. Missouri, I live in Colorado, but Missouri. A show me state. And instead of us telling them, we have now our students building them, building social learning companions for our faculty. 834 agents have built in U.com's interface by our students. So it's engagement. It's unlocking them through their data.
I think that insight, and again, I'm going to invite you to say a little bit more about knowledge graphs, because again, there may be viewers and listeners who aren't even sure where the knowledge graphs are, but I don't want to miss the opportunity. What I've been just so blown away by here and from your students is whether it's here or Westmount, again, small school in Santa Barbara, or what our students are doing, they're actually they are learning by unlocking the tools that somehow, are part of what it's going to mean to be a productive, contributing member of society. We're calling it today, building agents. At some point, we'll lose that language and find something a little bit more human. Well, and yet the value you can see is that it is actually experiential learning, right, at its finest, in a way that I think is remarkable. And so, again, maybe just share a little bit about sort of how you are building knowledge graphs, and to what end.
So that data, we see it as the data strategy enriches our data. So we're able to look at, so I can talk through an example.
Please.
For instance, like everybody who listens to this that's working in a university has a problem with transfer credit articulation. It's very difficult. It's a human process that we've put in place for whatever reasons. 43 million Americans have some credit, no degree. So we failed a lot of people. And when I look at Maryville as itself, I had a board meeting and expressed this. 26,086 people have been failed by us since 2017. Why? Okay, and our new president talks to this like that. But having that data enriched in a way, a skills ontology, so we can take our courseware, our syllabi, all the notes, everything that we have as a corpus, and really start to think about and see what skills actually come from that. We have an amazing AI engineer who has 413 patents. He's not a normal person working at Maryville, but it's having that capacity with that culture and that size has gotten us to tools that allow us to do transfer articulation in seconds, not days. So we're able to enrich our data in a way that we can do a current process that everybody needs to do, but we can also unlock a new process around the skills. So it's like, see your data this way, fix your automation, but it's a new way to think about how students can be motivated by their own information.
One of the things I know about you, and we haven't talked about it in the specific context, but I'm going to invite you to sort of run with me on this one.
Okay.
You also have a very entrepreneurial mindset. It's in your DNA.
Yeah.
So you're building solutions, for transfer credit. Turns out, Maryville's not alone.
Yeah.
At our scale, you can imagine kind of the number of students who haven't made it, and or who are transferring, for which they lose actually, and generally speaking, across higher education in the country, 50% of credit that has been actually taken is lost through transfer across the country. It's a huge challenge. Talk to me about whether or not, it's your aspiration, and whether you and your students are working on actually taking your solution and finding a way to bring it to market.
Absolutely. But I think we have to prove it first. So I know it works, but I want to show everybody it works. So right now, again, show me stage. We have our registrar's office now using that tool and putting our humans in the loop and making that data product very, very valuable. So I think that's interesting for Maryville. How we made that is interesting for the world. So taking that IP, patented IP, there's 3 patents, the 4th one's coming, to put that in an adjacent space where we could actually take investment and bring more friends along into this data journey to create a data collective, because I think these schools can fix it themselves. They have the data. They don't have the opportunity yet.
Let me just dig. So have you chosen to patent the underlying technology or the actual application of tech transfer, transfer credit?
That's interesting. Some of the novel ideas about how we did it is patentable, but that's something we want to put in place called Phoebe Labs, for education by education, because I think there's something there, Lev, where there's a lot of people that have that information but don't have the capacity. I think these kind of tools can give them not just a way to fix that one problem, but really make a new market. And how do they address that new market? And I think it's like workforce development and things that we've tried to do in the past, but now we have new tooling to do it differently.
All right. So, one of the other many very positive attributes why I count you, I'm lucky to say, as a friend of is that you also have this. You are a remarkable visionary. You can see around corners, and so I'm going to invite you, as we wrap up our little session here, to help me take a look around corners. This is our inaugural gathering here, around agentic AI and the student experience. Obviously at ASU. No matter what comes before it, it's all about the student experience, student impact, student success. So, in the next year, and I don't like looking much further than next year, it comes at a bit of an occupational hazard if we did.
Yeah.
Are there going to be, do you think, when we get back here a year from now, where will you be at Maryville in terms of working with the solutions you've got? And how much of a groundswell do you see coming, or do you see countervailing winds coming that could slow down this, what appears to be, insatiable demand for market solutions that are AI enabled?
I think that's prevailing winds. If you can either throw your sail up and grab them and go in the right direction, or try to fight them. I think people that are swiping their credit
we call it here, just so we call it tacking.
That's it.
And you said, wow, absolutely.
I didn't even know you did that. Yeah. So the people that are swiping their credit card just to buy AI, I think it's a mistake. Right. I think it's like, if you have a reason and your data is situated, I think you have all kinds of opportunities. That's putting your sail to the wind and like doing that. There's going to be a lot of backlash around this tech. I think it's rightfully so. What I'm worried about, and what I think is going to happen, is everything. Large language models are local language models. We've already taken a Spark DGX device, taken a model, put it locally, and we're not that big. We have 400 employees, 700 employees. Right. I don't need to scale to millions, but I can take something from a machine that I paid $4,000 for, emit that model, and have it resident in the business, that we're creating a data product around us, making the business run better. That I can see being reproduced over and over. I think students are going to get memory very soon, because we've been playing with a way where you can make the models remember things for you. And that's your data. That's your life graph, we call it. And that's something that we're seeing them find a ton of value in. So state means something. And if I own the data, then it's like I give a crap about it. It seems like that pattern seems to be producing some great results.
My view is that with that kind of offline opportunities to use AI in, whether it's billion or 3 or 5 billion parameter models, has huge power in a non-trivial way, because it also affords us a chance to provide safe, secure, build trust, to go back to one of the sort of the central themes that we've been chatting about. And certainly, I think what I want to invite folks to do is to keep watching, obviously, what you're doing with your students, with your colleagues. A great example of where visionary leadership combined with commitment from the university and from colleagues can really make a difference. Phil Komarny, well, so much for hanging with me.
Well,
great to see you.